Hello, hello, hello. It is Cassandra Terry, your manifesting miracle maker, and today is Transformation Tuesday. I am back after a nice long vacation with the family in Jamaica, seeing my cousin take on his bride. I got back. I'm a little under the weather, all the traveling and in and out of the airports. So I'm going to do my best to get through our time together today. Good morning. Let's see. Tracy Taylor in the kitchen. All right. I wish I was where you are because I could use some good breakfast. That's the thing about being on vacation. Somebody takes care of all that stuff for you. And then you get back to the real world and realize you've got to take care of your own breakfast and everything. Hello, Silas. Hello, JoJo. Good morning, Sonia. I always say you need to take a day off before you go back to work. And that's what I did. I took yesterday off and, got unpacked and tried to get settled. But I woke up this morning and I just kind of feel icky. So I may end up taking another day off. You're a personal chef. Where are you located? That's one of the things that I would love to add is having somebody prepare some healthy meals for us on a regular basis. Aldaharasi Amar, hello. I probably really butchered your name, and I apologize for that, but hello and welcome. Oh, you're in Rhode Island? I am in Texas. I am in Texas. Silas was asking as well. Silas, I am in Texas. Um, Let me focus in and get started because I see you guys are joining in. Um, I'm Cassandra Terry. You'll find me on all forms of social media as the Manifesting Miracle Maker. I'm a life coach. I blog. I've written a few courses and books, and my focus is always on mindset. Thank you. I'm sure it's just kind of a little 24-hour thing. I just need a little bit more rest. I think I'll be well soon. Around the way, girl, welcome. Thank you for sending that positive energy my way. I appreciate that. I talk about mindset all the time. I've got a regular. I show up most mornings, Tuesday through Friday, at 7:15 Central. On Mondays, I'm on at noon because of an obligation at work. But what I try to do consistently is to share different points of view on mindset. On Mondays, I talk strictly mindset. Tuesdays, I talk about transformation. And transformation today, you'll see under my name if you're watching from the ways where I'm using StreamYard, you always see under my name, The Voice Within Wins. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit more today to make sure that you guys understand what I mean by that. When I say the voice within wins, I am talking about your inner voice, what you're thinking, what and how you feel about yourself is so important. Hello, Vivian. Hello, Lady D. Thank you guys for joining. When you have a positive mindset when it comes to yourself, I'm not saying that you walk around pretending that everything is all right all the time, that everything is rainbows and roses and butterflies. I like rainbows, roses, and butterflies. So I look for them more than I look for other things. But even with a positive mindset, life keeps lifing, right? Things keep happening, and sometimes difficult things happen. So what do? We sometimes we can't change our external circumstances, but we can change internally how we process and how we look at those things. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the voice within wins. Firstly, it's really about how you think and feel about yourself. If you know your value, if you believe that you're capable and you believe that you're deserving, then you set a tone for what your life is going to be like from the very beginning. You know what's acceptable for you and what's not. You have boundaries, right? And things that fall without outside of those boundaries, you have a way of dealing with those that say, no, it's not okay. This is not okay for me. This is not the life that I'm writing, the book that I'm writing for the life that I'm living. And you adjust. You reject some things if they don't live up to the expectations that you have for your life, and you accept the things in that do. So it starts with you being really clear about who you are and how you feel about yourself. Good morning, Lachelle, America's Supermom. It's great to have you with us. If you guys don't know Lachelle, and you spend any time at all on LinkedIn, you have got to tune in and get to know Lachelle Atkins. You can see her hello there as one of the viewers from LinkedIn. Amazing mother, amazing person. She does more in a day than a lot of people can get done in a week. But she tells us how she gets things done, and she keeps it real. And it would be very, very good for you to connect and learn more about her and what she's offering to our community. Good morning, Saba. Good morning, Sabrina Hill Williams. It is good to have you all joining in. Some of you guys I saw last night when I had the audio room with Annie, and it is great to see you back. You're welcome, Lachelle. Um, so let's jump into it. Let's really talk about this inner voice. Some people believe it, some people don't. Now the thing about believing, or at least trying to tap into your inner voice, is that you have absolutely nothing to lose. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain just by giving it a try. How do you do that? Get quiet. Spend some time with yourself and really listen to the words that are playing in your head. We all have automatic messaging that's rolling. There's a message rolling in our heads all the time. And that message oftentimes was born out of fear or some sort of need to protect, oftentimes out of some sort of trauma. And it is trying to protect you from what you felt unable to protect yourself from early in life. So maybe you were in a situation where early in life you had to take care of yourself, or you didn't have the adults around that you should. So maybe you've got some abandonment issues. Maybe you were in an abusive situation. Maybe there's just so many things that happen as little people, and sometimes it's not even something that's so traumatic as one of those examples, but somewhere along the way you didn't feel safe in some way or another, and your mind created a message for you to tell you that you're entering back into that place, that environment, or something similar to that environment that doesn't feel safe. And because you don't feel safe, you start to get these messages that are warning signs in your head saying, no, don't do that. Good. Hello, Olo Lawu. I just really messed it up this time. And Ola, we have practiced this and we need to keep practicing because I know I'm butchering your name. But greetings. Thank you so much for joining. That inner voice, born out of some need to protect you, is playing in the background all the time. And it's telling you what it's okay for you to do and what you shouldn't do. It also, when we're young, that's when we start to build our esteem, our self esteem. We start to know in our young little minds how we're valued and how we are not. We start to get messages that form those messages in our head, and we stick with them for a very long time, sometimes forever, because if we don't tap in, we don't realize that it's there. And so, all I'm asking you to do is to start to listen to the messages that are playing in your head. When you get up in the morning and you look at yourself in the mirror, what are the thoughts that come up? How do you feel? What are some of the automatic things? When you walk into a room and you're preparing to walk into a room, what's playing in your head? Maybe you're sitting down, preparing for an interview. Maybe you're getting ready to put yourself out there and start a business, or you've been talking about it for a very long time. What are the things that you hear? Maybe you're in a relationship. How do you feel about yourself within that relationship? How do you feel about yourself as a parent? How do you feel about yourself as an employee or an employer? How do you feel about yourself as a spouse? How do you feel about you at your core, stripped down, no makeup or any type of preparation, just rolling out of bed and just getting ready to start your day? When you look in the mirror and see that person, what are the first thoughts that start to come up? Usually they're playing and we have no idea. We're not even tapped in enough to hear. But when you hear them, you move yourself from being subjected to those thoughts to becoming into a position of power where you can start to control those thoughts. If you don't like you, first thing in the morning, fresh out of bed, before you've done any preparation, there's some work to do. If you go into a new environment and the messages that are coming up are of self-doubt, or you're complimenting and everyone else, but you're doing that from a place of some sort of inferiority, you don't feel as good, you don't feel as capable. It's important to hear those messages, because once you know that they're there, then you can do something about it. Good morning, Dwayne. Glad to see you there. Once you know that they're there, you're in a position of power. You can start to make decisions, because what we don't realize is just how powerful we are. We are making decisions, little decisions, all day, every day. I had to decide that even though I didn't feel that well, I was going to get up this morning and push through so that we could have this conversation. I had to decide, let me find something comfortable to put on, because I don't feel that great. So I don't want to be squeezed in, but I don't want to look too, I don't want to look sick. So, making you have to decide. I'm going to decide whether or not I'm going to work from home, or am I going to go into the office? Am I going to eat something, or am I going to let my stomach settle? We're making these little micro decisions all day long. But most of the time, they're being made on autopilot. We're not thinking and being connected to the decisions that we're making. So we don't even realize that that's happening. Saba said, inner reflection is the key to experience euphoria in life. That inner reflection puts you in the driver's seat of your life. All these decisions you're making on autopilot, and they're usually based on that voice that's playing in your head. And if you haven't done some work with that voice, it's usually fear based, trauma based. So you're operating from a place of fear. You're operating from a place of, I can't, I shouldn't. But once you hear that voice, once you start to connect with those messages, listen without judgment. That's the first thing you have to do, is throw the judgment out the door. If you listen with judgment, now you're controlling those thoughts and you're not letting them freely be. You want them to come free form just as they are, so that you can hear and feel and experience what those thoughts really are. Write them down if necessary. Start to write them down so you hear those auto messages. I had said to this group before, um, I had said to this group before that I had a cut. We had a death in our family a couple of years ago, and it was really, really tragic. And we were all gathered at my aunt's house, and we were outside just kind of hanging out and talking in between services and things. And I was talking to one of my cousins, and a group of cousins actually, and one of them heard me say something, and I hadn't seen him in quite some time. Good morning, Cliff. Good morning, Judy. And he said, "That's an odd thing for you to say. I don't see you that way at all. I'm surprised to hear you say that." So that was the first point to where I just it kind of shook me, because I had somebody reflecting back to me this negative comment that I had said about myself. And as the night went on, he and I had a similar conversation like three or four different times. Every time I said something negative about myself, something self effacing, he would play it right back to me. And it brought it to my awareness for the first time. I didn't realize that I had developed this habit of these self effacing comments, these negative comments. And it was some sort of I don't know, some sort of a protection mechanism that I didn't even realize I had. It was almost like if I say something negative first, then whoever I'm around doesn't have anything, that I'll beat them to the punch. Or maybe they'll talk me out of it and they'll say something positive instead. I'm not exactly sure how I developed that mechanism, but in that conversation with him, I became aware of it. And so then when I started to say something like that, it was like a blaring horn. It wasn't something that just kind of subtly made itself in the conversation and floated away without me even being aware that I was doing it. He helped me see myself in that light and to see that I was doing that. And he was like, "Why are you being so negative about yourself?" And he started to play back, "You're one of the most positive people I know. You've done this and you've done that." And so he started to speak to me through his version of me, how he saw me. And it was so different from how I was speaking of and about and even feeling about myself. And it was such a great experience because it made me go inward. That inner reflection that you're talking about, Saba, it made it a requirement for me. I needed to understand where that was coming from and how and why, and see if I could do something about it. And I absolutely did. Because of that, I learned how to accept a compliment. All you have to do is say thank you. Someone says something nice to you, say thank you. I had a tendency to play it back and almost undermine the compliment. I would say something, "Oh, that's nice of you to say, but," and then explain it away why, and explain to the person who tried to just give me a simple compliment why I wasn't as good as they thought, that kind of thing. And so that experience was amazing. And it was more external than internal, but it pushed me in so that I got better connected with what was going on. And I had to do some work on that. For me, I got with a therapist and said, "Hey, here's what's happening. Can you help me figure this out?" And now I have a coach and I work with someone on a regular basis so that I know how I'm thinking and feeling about myself. And doing that work opened up my life so much. It got me in a situation to where I was drawing more success to myself. I had a good measure of success, but I wasn't really experiencing it because I was living in this negative headspace. But reframing how I thought and being able to see myself changed everything. My expectations of my employer changed tremendously. I expect to be treated a certain way with a certain, I expect to be valued in what I bring into the situation. I expect to be well compensated for what I do. I didn't have those expectations a few years ago. Even though some of those things were happening, I received them from a place of almost, "I'm lucky to have this job. I better not make any waves because, they may replace me with somebody else." I was playing it really, really small, and from a position of surrender. Now I walk into the room and I know the value that's coming in with me. So when my employer asks me a question, I can give them an honest answer because I'm not operating from a place of fear. I'm operating of a place of value. I know the value in what it is that I do for them every day. So, yes, you need to pay me well. Yes, you need to respect me. Yes, you need to invite me to the table. I should be there. That's not how I felt a few years ago. It was an honor. It was a mystery and an honor to be in the room. And when you're coming from that perspective, sometimes you're playing yourself very, very small. I saw their value. I saw what it was that they were doing, and I wasn't putting myself in that same vein. Once I started to do that, it changed the conversation. It changed how I showed up. I showed up from a position of strength versus a position of weakness. I see my value. I know what it is. First thing in the morning, fresh out of bed, nothing done. Today I don't feel well, but what I do produce, I know it'll be of quality. It might not be as fast or as much as a typical day because I give myself a break. I physically don't feel well. So I'm going to incorporate that fact into the expectations of my day. Instead of feeling like I've got to work my fingers to the bone, I have to push myself beyond reason because I'm so lucky just to have this job. Now, I don't, I love my job. Absolutely love the company I work for and the people that I work with even more. So it doesn't take away the fact that I'm in a great position. But I don't see it as just a one-way street. Me lucky to be there. They're lucky to have me too, because I could be their competition. I could be working for somebody that's trying to take away from what they're doing. And now I understand that. And it's a two-way street. I get just as much value, I give just as much value to this company as I get from being an employee of that company. It's a different day. Lachelle said I call them mental health days. Absolutely. Today may just be one of those days. And I take my mental health days unapologetically. And I even call them that. It is so wonderful to be in a position where I can say, this is what I'm doing, and stand by. I don't have to flower it up. I'm not going to call my employer all, bumped over and coughing into the phone and playing up how bad I feel. It's going to be a simple message. Hey, not feeling that great today. Going to work from home. I'll do what I can. If I have to shut down early, I'll let you know. It's just a communication, not a request, because I'm 55 years old and I've put 23 years into this company. So I've earned and proven, my work ethic and things like that. So it's not like I'm, day one on the job. And we have a mutual respect for each other. I respect my employer, so I'm going to let them know what's going on. They respect me enough to go, okay, take good care of yourself. That's literally all I expect to hear back. Or maybe if there's something really important, because I've been on vacation for the last week, if there's something really important they want to key me in on, hey, I know you're not feeling well, but can you take a look at this or assign somebody to that kind of thing. But it's a place of mutual respect versus having to build up a big situation and ask permission to be sick and all that kind of stuff. That's how I lived for a very, very, very long time, because I absolutely saw myself as just lucky to have the job. When you're lucky, you have no control over your luck, really. Things are just happening. They're happening to you, and they're either good or they're bad. I believe in being prepared. I believe in being focused on what it is that I want versus focused on the things that I don't want. I believe in being focused on what I have versus bemoaning the things that I don't have. So, again, right back to the mindset. And because I'm focused on what I have, I'm grateful. And because I'm grateful, I'm in a good mind space, a good head space, and I'm bringing more of what I desire and the things that I have. That's what I'm attracting to me. I talk about an experience I had when I was playing softball a few years back. I remember being out in center field and just hating it out there. And somebody was coming up to bat that we knew was really good. And at this time, you're talking about a team of old folks out there just having more fun than actually, former athletes still trying to hang on a little bit to the glory days. And I'm out there going, oh, I hope this ball doesn't come to me. I hope this ball doesn't come to me. I don't want to miss it. I don't want to miss it. I'm focused on missing it. I don't want to miss it. I don't want to miss it. And as soon as it came, boop, hit the top of my glove, kept going. Now I'm off to the races. I grab the ball, I fling it in. I almost threw it into the ground. I was in such worked up negative headspace that it was like a comedy of errors. Later on, when I'm playing and I'm not thinking like that, and I'm just out having fun and not paying very much attention even to what's going on because I'm having a good time, ball is hit. It felt like I almost threw my glove up in the air, but I just stretched and did a little jump, came down, the ball's in my hand. Same person, same glove, same position. The only thing that was different was mindset. In one of those situations, I was so worried about missing the ball that I created the situation of missing the ball. In the other situation, I was relaxed and carefree and having a good time. So I'm just responding to what's going on out there and all is fine. Your mindset is so important. It will dictate how you experience whatever it is that you're experiencing. So I said that in the description of today, you might not be able to change your circumstances, but you can change how you experience them, how you see them. So my job situation didn't change. The ball game didn't change. How I showed up in those scenarios is what changed. And how I showed up changed because my mindset changed. Let's see. I see a couple comments coming in. Paul says, "That's why I decided to be an entrepreneur, Cassandra. I feel like most people put their key to happiness in someone else's pocket. Owning your time is the biggest." Yeah, exactly. Biggest, he flexed, biggest flex of entrepreneurship. And he's saying hello to you, Supermom. Let's see. Cliff said, in a symbiotic relationship, both entities bring something to the table. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And we are in symbiotic relationships. However, oftentimes we don't recognize the value of what it is that we're bringing to the table. So if you're in a situation, we'll start with a negative one. If things are not going well around you, if you're having a difficult situation, you might not be able to immediately change your environment. You might not be able to immediately change the external circumstances. But if you can change how you're looking at them, if you can change your mindset, you may change how you're experiencing that thing and take a little bit of the stress off yourself right away. Mindset is powerful. If you're having a difficult time with someone at work and you're not able to change the folks that you're working with right away, you still have to interact with that person. You can decide, you can make a decision on how you see that individual. There's something going on with them, or there's something about them. Hurt people hurt people. So I'm going to decide that I'm not going to buy into whatever it is that they've got going on. I may never know why they behave this way, but I can decide how I'm going to respond to it. I can let them know what my boundaries are, and I can build a plan on how I'm going to respond when they cross those boundaries. But I may not be able to, excuse me, no longer work with that individual. So I've got to think about, what am I bringing into that situation? I have to do this on a fairly regular basis. Most of the folks that I work with, I really enjoy. But there's a few personalities that I don't. I absolutely would avoid them if I could. And because I know that, I have to make sure that I'm not bringing in negative energy when I do interact with those individuals. It's part of my responsibility as a professional and just as a human. I know that there's something about a particular person that triggers me. That person may not even realize it. They may not be doing it on purpose. It may be something that they're in my past that they're reminding me of, a different relationship, something. But I know that I don't enjoy interacting with that individual. So what do? I have to talk to me. There is nothing I can do to control anyone in the circumstance except for myself. So I have to tell myself going in, all right, let's get prepared. We're getting ready to deal with so and so. You know, you don't like interacting with this person. So what are you looking to get out of this conversation? What is it that you guys have to accomplish? Focus on that. Focus on what they bring to that situation that you need to get the job done, and leave everything else out of it. You can't control their personality. You just can't. So, what is it that I'm trying to accomplish? What's causing me to interact with this person in the first place? I am going to focus on that. And if they do something that is offending me, I can have a conversation with them, and we can see how that goes. But I cannot control how they're going to respond. And I have to understand that. So I have to know what my own personal boundaries are, and I have to be in control of me. because I can't control the other person. And so I have those conversations with myself. I prep myself so that I'm not bringing that negative energy in, so that I'm not feeding the situation and making it worse for both of us. I have to manage me. And that's what my focus is on. If I focus on that person and I focus on how I feel when I interact with them, I've got myself all worked up before anything even happens, before we start working on whatever it is we need to do. And truth be told, that person goes out of their way to be really nice to me because I think they know. I mean, we're never nearly as much of a sleuth as we think we are. I think they know that there's something off there. They don't know why, but neither do I. So it's a difficult situation. But I know that for me, there's a lack of trust. There's been a few things along the line that have said, danger, Will Robinson. There's something there. You have to be careful with this individual. I've perceived that and I trust my perception. So, because of that, I'm uneasy when I'm with that person. What am I going to say? Hey, don't trust you, so I'd really rather not work with you and create a horrible work environment for both of us? No, I have to keep myself under control, realize what I'm bringing into the situation, and manage it accordingly. We sometimes we have little one-off conversations, and I try and see if there's some things that I can glean that helps to build the trust. But so far, I think my intuition is right. And so because the mistrust is there, I deal with this person a little bit differently than I do some of the other people I interact. I don't share as much of myself. I'm a little bit more careful. So I have to trust my intuition. Kim Shay said discernment of spirit. It's a powerful thing. Absolutely. And there's something there. I may never know exactly what it is, but there's definitely some mistrust there. I've just picked up enough. But I can't go in with a negative attitude going, I don't trust you in the first place, so let's just get this over with. Now I've created a more difficult environment, and no one's going to win, and my employer is not going to be happy, right? So I manage it because I'm honest with myself. Hello, Cassie, welcome back. I know how I feel in that situation, and I don't berate myself for how I feel. I don't even tell myself I'm wrong, but I do hold myself accountable for what I bring to those interactions. And because I'm accountable, because I'm an adult, because I'm a professional, because I care about people, even the people that make me uneasy, I still care about them as a person. So I operate from that place instead of being focused on all the negativity. And we have the power to do that when we tap in. The more we tap into ourselves and the more we understand how we're processing and how we're functioning and how we're feeling, the better we are capable of managing our lives and managing them well. It's when we go through on autopilot and we're just responding. Can you imagine if I wasn't aware of what was happening to me internally? I could really, be not so nice to that individual, cut them off, spend as little time as possible. Just, I could be less than professional. I could be less than fair. I'm in a leadership position in my company. So I could be less than fair. And that wouldn't be right. Wouldn't even be legal. It wouldn't be right. So I hold myself accountable for how I show up in any situation. And we all should and we all can. But in order to do that, you have to tap in and you have to be honest with yourself. And you have to, oh, Tony, I love what you said. Tony said, live from the inside out. Exactly. When we are subjected to what's going on externally and all we're doing is responding to that, we are completely out of control and at the mercy of our external circumstances. I don't want to live my life that way. I want to decide. I want to decide how I show up. I want to decide who I bring into the room and what type of person I am. I don't want to be beholding to external circumstances, and that determines how I show up, what type of person I am, what my character looks like. No, those decisions have been made by me, for me, and then everything else lines up accordingly. If I can't have a decent conversation with you, then I am going to understand that, not beat myself up, not beat you up, but adjust how we interact. And if possible, we won't. If I find that I'm in a relationship and it's toxic, it could be a family member, it could be a friend of however many decades. But if that relationship has gone awry and I've done everything that I can do, then it's time to cut ties. But those are decision points. And when you're connected to you and you are truly connected and being honest with yourself, then you can make those decisions and stand by them and feel good about them. Joy says, agree about knowing more about ourselves. Emotional intelligence starts with developing yourself. Joy is another person that I follow on LinkedIn, and she is out there teaching and training about emotional intelligence every single day. Powerful rooms and events that she hosts that helps us to do some of the stuff that I'm talking about. Really get to know ourselves honestly, at who we are at our core. Once you know that, now you've got your baseline and you can start to develop and grow from that point. But if you don't get to a point to where you even know who you are, what are you building on? You're building on a foundation that's moving and shaking and being affected by everything that's going on around them. I'm not a slave to my environment. I absolutely am not. Just because you're having a bad day and you want to fight doesn't mean that I'm going to be on the other end of that fight. I get to choose. And we forget that. We forget how much that life is just a succession of choices and consequences based on the choices that we make. And consequences can be good or consequences can be not so good. So choose wisely and choose what aligns with your values and who you are as a person. And if you do that, if you live out your values every day, you go to bed at night feeling good about the day that you had. Tina, welcome, 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 welcome. Paul says, yes, Cassandra, that's something I've learned over the past year is you can't project the past on new people you meet. Learning to detach from previous experiences and look at things for what they are instead of what I want them to be. That's powerful. And I don't think we realize just how much we do that. When we encounter people, our brains want repetition and they want to be able to be on autopilot and just know. They want to know when things are not well, they want to know when things are good. It comes from our historical makeup. We had to make decisions quickly, right? We had to know if I go into this area, a saber-tooth tiger may be there. That may be what's wrestling the grass versus the wind just blowing. We used to, our lives are so different than they were hundreds of years ago, but we still have the same mechanisms, the same processing. If we don't take control of it and mature it and apply some of this emotional intelligence that Joy talks about, right? So the reason that we take a new situation and tie it to the past is because it makes it easy for us to make decisions. Quick, 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 quick. We can just make decisions really fast. And what we're doing is we're operating out of the past instead of a clean slate and learning from that new experience. And so we transfer those feelings and those emotions into a brand new situation, and we bring all that stuff with us. But we don't have to do that. Have a good day. My vacation was great. Thank you for asking and thank you for joining. DJ Grim Reaper, Straight Motion CC. Good morning. So, if we can clean slate every experience and really experience what's happening right now, it changes things. I don't want to throw out the intelligence of my history. I learned a lot over these last 55 years. So I take the lessons from what I've experienced and I've grown and I've matured. But what I'm leaving behind and I'm learning more and more every day to leave behind is the emotional baggage of those experiences. So if I had something that was difficult that happened to me in my past, I don't pretend like it didn't happen, but I also don't want to be shackled to it and dragging that with me everywhere I go, into every relationship, every experience. All I want from it is the lesson. What did that experience teach me? If I can operate from that place and learn from my experiences, that in and of itself helps me to look at them differently. Now, instead of just having those negative emotions about something that happened historically, I can see the lesson. I can see how it helped evolve me, how it helped me to become the person that I am today. And so now I don't have to look at that experience as just this bad thing that happened, right? Taking the lesson from it helps you to reframe it, helps you to see it differently, and helps you to put some space between you and that experience. Take the lesson and move forward. Let's see. Paul said, a paradigm shift I've adopted the past year and a half. The universe gives me the opportunity every day to prove who I say I am. I love that, Paul. I have to be mindful when things aren't going great because that's when everyone watches and are fearful when I still choose, or surprised when I still choose gratitude. Yeah. And what he said, I choose gratitude. In every situation, we get to choose how we see it and how we respond to it. Sometimes when we're in the thick of it, it just feels bad. Something awful is happening, and that's all you can think of. But if you can stop for just a moment and realize that you've been in situations before where you thought things were absolutely awful, you couldn't imagine how you ever were going to get through them. And then you look back at those things today and go, huh, you know, wasn't the best experience in my life, but look what I've learned from that. I know how strong I am. I know how resilient I am. I know that I can get through difficult situations because my life has taught me that. I've done it over and over again. And if we would just realize that, it would change how we see ourselves. We would see the strength and the resilience, the ability to keep moving forward. If we could see ourselves that way, but for whatever reason we throw out those that point of view and we just look at the things that we stumbled, the places where we stumbled, the things that were difficult, the things that we wish we had done differently. You've done so much well in your life already. You just have to choose to see it and to recognize it. And once you've done that, now you're in a position to see the value and the strength in who you are and all that you've come. Look at where you are today versus where you started. You may not be where you would like to be yet, but you're also not back at ground zero. You're not at that starting point. You've made strides. And but instead, we're always forward focused. I want to get here. I want to do that. Every once in a while, take stock and take a look at what you've already accomplished and how much closer you are to what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Allow that to sink in. Allow that to give you encouragement. Learn to encourage yourself. Learn to celebrate the wins, no matter how small. Take the time and recognize them because that will give you the strength to take the next step. Because really, that's all you have. How do you do it? How do you get from point A to point Z? You move from A to B and then from B to C and C to D, one step at a time. As long as you're continuing to move forward, you're winning. Sometimes we're at A and we're so focused on Z that it's hard, it's overwhelming, and it's hard to get started. Just focus on the next step. If you can find the strength to take one step towards what it is you want to accomplish, take it and then do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again. One step at a time, you're getting there. And before you know it, you're not at A anymore, you're at J. So you're closer to Z than when you started. But you need to recognize that progress because that's what's going to keep you going. Instead of going, I'm never going to get to Z. It's so far away. It's never going to happen. Now you've got that negative self-talk going and you're starting to debilitate your own journey. But what you should say is, man, check me out. I was way back there at A, and now here I am at J. I'm that much closer to where it is I'm trying to go. If you could make that shift in how you evaluate your life and how you see yourself, if you can make that shift, you can see the progress and keep encouraging yourself to take the next step. We're just moving from J to K. Z will happen as long as we keep moving forward, right? That's what it's all about. Those little mental shifts, giving yourself enough encouragement, cheering yourself on enough just to take the next step. And you're one step closer to where it is you're trying to go. Paul says, my mentor has a quote that redefined my perspective on fear. Be more afraid of being nothing than being something. Danelle Delgado. Absolutely. Fear is one of those things. I'm afraid of a lot of things, and those are the things that I try to do. I used to live a very fearful life, afraid of my own shadow. And because I grew up that way, I just had this thing, this yearning in my belly to do hard stuff, to do the things that really, really scare me. So I skydived. Just this past weekend while we were in Jamaica, I have a real fear of the water. I still can't swim as old as I am, and it makes me crazy. I've even tried classes with the little kids, and they go on and graduate, and I'm still not able to get underwater without holding my nose. So that's something that I'm working on because overcoming fear, there's nothing more exhilarating than pushing past. We were ziplining this while we were in Jamaica, and there was a dad there. He had his son Luke. Luke was probably 10 or younger, and Luke was all about the zip lining. We had 7 or 8 jumps, and it's just you on this wire, and away you go, right? You're harnessed in. And Luke volunteered to be the first person to go. What we didn't know until his mom talked to us was that his dad had an extreme fear of heights. Like just getting up on the podium to do the jump was a lot for dad. But dad wasn't focused on his fear, he was focused on his son. So he said, okay, well, if my son's going, I have to go next. And so he jumped as soon as right after his son. And we could hear him screaming, not the exhilarated, excited, adrenaline scream that Luke had just let out, but this man was screaming in fear for his life. But he did it 7 times because his son was doing it. And he wanted to show his son that you can do hard things, that you can push past your fear. And he didn't just talk about it, he did it. His son knew how scared he was. And the man didn't beat himself up for being fearful. He didn't try to pretend that like he wasn't fearful. He talked about it. But because it was important for his son, it was important to him. And that's what he focused on. And he jumped 7 times. I think he was just as afraid on jump 7 as he was on the first jump. But he kept doing it for his little boy. And I was so impressed by him because I know how hard it is to push past your fear and do those things. And he did it 7 times. Dad of the year in my book. He taught his son so much in that experience that words would never teach his son. He put it into action. And I was so impressed by that. Yeah, fear. I'm actually writing a book on fear. And I've got this acrostic about fear, and I'll tell you guys more about that in a future, in the future. But fear is one of those things that we don't have to pretend like it's not there. just have to decide that we're going to do it anyway. Jumping out of a plane, even if you're strapped to a professional, you're at 10,000 feet and you just see shapes below you and sky and water in my case. That was scary. But it was also one of the most exhilarating things that I've ever done. And after that, it flipped a switch in me. I was walking around for weeks, and if something popped up that was hard, the first thing in my mind was, girl, you jumped out of a plane. If you can do that, you can definitely do this. And that's what your life is. If you can just think back about all the things that you've overcome already, you can have that same snap in you. I've done all this hard stuff, so I know I can handle this. It's a mindset shift. It's a mindset shift. Let's see. I tend to attract the same type of people over and over again. Is that a me issue? I won't say it's an issue, but if you want to know the type of energy that you're putting out, then you're look at who you're attracting. And I don't mean that in a negative way at all. I just mean that as a way for you to assess what you're drawing to yourself. It actually is a you thing. It's not an issue. It's just the energy that you're putting out is attracting a certain type of person. I attract a certain type of person, people. Um, I get that. And because it's me that's the magnet, it's me that's drawing them in. If I wanted to attract different people or different type of person, then I have to change the energy that I'm putting out there. Does that, I hope that makes sense. But if you I have a group of friends, some of my closest friends have really had health issues. And one day I was sitting and I was thinking, and I think I was kind of thinking out loud. And there was somebody who, who really knows me and who I trust. And I was like, it's just the strangest thing that all my friends, the people that I really, really love, that they're beyond friends. They moved into the family category and we've been around each other for so long. And I was just perplexed one day thinking how all my friends are sick, and it just blew my mind, and I was feeling bad for them, and I was just thinking, why are all my friends sick? And my girlfriend said, because you're a caretaker. And I was like, what? It's like, yeah, you attract people who need to be taken care of because you have a need to take care of people. And so, yeah, it doesn't surprise me that you have friends that have health issues. You would draw those types of people to you, or people who are struggling with something to you, because you're a fixer, you're a nurturer, you want to take care of people. So y'all fit together. And I thought that was so interesting. And I was like, that's the energy that I'm putting out. So I'm not changing my energy because I love my friends. But it was just a revelation to think about it that way. I was really just thinking about them and concerned about their health. And it was really interesting for her to say that. And I thought back over my life and the people that I've interacted with most of my life, and it aligned. What she said was eye opening, and it really aligned. Everybody wasn't physically sick, but I do have a good number of people that need some sort of nurturing or taken care of in my circle. And I used to look at that and just wonder. And she just immediately go, oh, it's just the type of people you draw to you because of who you are. Light bulb moment. Makes sense. So I say all of that, guys, to say the voice within wins. What you think about yourself, who you think you are, how you value yourself, what you believe that you're worthy of. It's all true, because you are going to create a life that aligns with that belief system. So if you want something different, tap in, hear your inner thoughts, really take a look at yourself in the mirror and hear and feel what comes up as you're just looking at you. What are the messages that are coming up? What are the things that you automatically say about yourself? Get clear about that. And then If it's not messaging that's healthy for you, if it's not messaging that's going to help you achieve the life that you desire, do the work to change it. That's why I'm here. As a life coach, I focus on mindset more than anything because I believe if we get that under control, everything else will align. Reach out, send me a private message. I've got a course, it's a free online course called Transforming Your Inner Critic into Your Inner Advocate. It's all about a quick way to start that mindset shift and for you to get a taste of who I am as a coach and the types of things that I share. So send me email me if you're interested, and I'll shoot that course over to you. It will help you begin this process. It's a mini course. It only takes about half an hour or so to get through it, just as something that's introductory. And then if you want to go deeper, we can talk about that one on one. But I really encourage you to get the course. If the mindset is you've got that on point and you're ready to do your goal setting and start to build the life that you desire, I've got a workbook on Amazon. It's the M3 goal setting workbook. It explains the program, it does a little bit of the mindset work on the front end, and then it's got a plan for you to take those huge goals. You take Z and you start to break that down from annual to quarterly to monthly to weekly, all the way down to daily activities, so that each day you're taking strides that are going to move you from wherever you are on that spectrum from A to Z, move you to Z. You'll do day to day things that'll get you there. But first, you have to build a plan. You have to be really clear about what it is that you want. And once you've done that, once you know what it is and you've got that awareness of what the life that you want to live, what that looks like, then the planning part, I can help you with that through that workbook. So we are going to wrap it up today, guys. Transformation Tuesday is underway. The biggest transformation that you can make is here, transforming your mind, transforming that inner critic so that you are no longer consistently criticizing, but you are advocating for yourself. You believe in yourself, you know your value, and that you are doing the things that you need to do to create the life that you desire. So that's it. Send me a DM or shoot me a message or leave a comment here, and I will respond just as quickly as I can. It's great to be back. Vacation was wonderful, but it's good to be back and getting back to my normal life, my day to day. And I appreciate you guys for joining in. I will be back tomorrow. Wednesday is Wake Up Wednesday, and that's where we talk about being intentional. So I'll put before the day is up, I'll get that all set up so you guys have the link. And we will do this again tomorrow, talking about being intentional. And until then, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. You guys have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining.